In this edition of Southern Newsweek, Dunedin's Ross Creek Dam nears completion, a bungee enthusiast jumps from a helicopter over Dunedin Harbour, and birds successfully evade guns on the first day of duck shooting. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. Work to strengthen the Ross Creek Reservoir dam wall is nearing completion. The main engineering work on the dam should be completed within the next 2 months before it's left to strengthen for a year. The South Today went to take a look.
Dunedin's historic Ross Creek Reservoir dates back 150 years and has recently been getting a major overhaul, with the dam face being rebuilt as well as the installation of new concrete channels. Council Planning and Delivery Manager Jared Oliver is pleased with how the work is progressing.
Yeah, so we're proceeding through the earthworks. We're getting close to completing those, but there will be another period of 12 months beyond that where we have to basically let the dam sit and consolidate.
Plans changed when some of the original base material was found to be not suitable.
So originally we were going to remove about 5,500 cubes and bring in 15,000 cubic metres of imported material, but as we dug down we found there was some unsuitable material that we had to remove, so now we're up to having removed around 7,500 and brought in about 17,500.
He believes it will take another year before the project is complete.
So the work on the dam face, we're looking at middle of the year to finish that, but then there is some follow-up work to do. We want to install some monitoring equipment and also do the landscaping itself, so probably all up it'll be another 12 months, probably be the middle of 2019. Once
engineering work is finished, the nearby walking tracks and Burma Road will be reopened. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Last May, Queenstown Firefighter Gavin Mason was able to run up the Auckland Sky Tower. However, days later he was struck down by a rare disease and couldn't even lift one leg. Now the Queenstown Airport Rescue Firefighter is fully recovered and has his sights set on competing again at the Sky Tower Stairs Challenge in Auckland in a week's time. Mina Abso has more.
Last year, Gavin Mason went from running up the Sky Tower in Auckland for charity to barely being able to lift up one leg up just one stair. For 4 weeks, he couldn't perform simple tasks and had to use Zimmer frame and a wheelchair.
Best way to describe it is almost like a drunk 70-year-old on a ship in the high seas. Just had really weak legs and was struggling to walk, really.
Mason ended up in hospital with a rare disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which involves muscle weakness, paralysis of the limbs, face and the respiratory system.
I was fortunate I had a light dose of it, and it affected me from the waist down. So my recovery time was certainly much shorter than the typical case of it.
He says it was a humbling experience.
Go from a reasonable level of fitness to still being mentally fit and feeling physically fit, but actually having the capacity to physically perform basic tasks and having to use a Zimmer frame and a wheelchair was certainly, it's an interesting experience, something makes you appreciate things in life a bit more.
But ever since his recovery, Mason wanted to compete again at the Firefighter Sky Tower Stair Challenge, in which he competed last year and achieved 4th position.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked to sneak up there and be in that sort of top echelon.
The event raises funds for Leukemia and Blood Cancer New Zealand. 950 competitors from across the country will compete at this year's event, and Mason hopes he gets to the top of the stairwell and perhaps in the top 10. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Veteran bungee jumper Henry Van Ash ticked off another milestone recently with his first heli leap over Otago Harbour. The spectacle of a herd of helicopters over the middle of the harbour attracted the attention of The South Today.
It's not every day that someone launches themselves out of a perfectly functioning helicopter. In fact, it was a first for Dunedin when veteran bungee jumper Henry Van Ash leapt out of a local chopper above the Otago Harbour.
It's the first time we've done the heli bridge has ever been done in this harbour, and So yeah, it's been doing a great day today. It was pretty consistent up there. It was pretty steady. So these Heli-Otago pilots are some of the best in the world. So as long as they're comfortable flying in these conditions, then they're happy to jump.
The helicopter took off from the Kitchener Street helipad around 11 a.m, rose to 500 feet, and after he jumped, Henry Van Ash bounced a couple of times, then was carried back to the helipad. Van Ash is one of the co-founders of the A.J. Hackett Bungee Company, and his jump was in conjunction with the Tourism Industry Aotearoa's 4-day Trends Conference, which is being held in the city. Darryl Baser, The South Today.
Duck shooters were out in force last weekend trying to secure dinner on the first day of the game bird hunting season. However, despite a high number of ducks about, some hunters were not having much luck in bringing the birds down from the skies. The South Today visited some of the mai-mais in central Otago.
The opening weekend of the game bird shooting season saw many ducks staying safely out of range of the shotguns in central Otago. However, Springvale duck shooter Cros Crosby was enjoying his new mai-mai near Alexandra, which has been decked out with all the comforts a hunter might want.
Yeah, basically we went to a mai-mai down south, and it was quite a cool mai-mai. Had all the odd mods and comforts, so we thought we could pretty do the same, and we've probably gone a bit overboard with it, a bit better, and it's a cool place to be, basically.
Crosby admitted the first morning of hunting wasn't much of a success.
Yeah, duck shooting today, we're pretty serious duck shooters. We're not renowned for our sense of humour, but when it comes to duck shooting, it's a very serious business. Today I shot nothing. The son-in-law, he shot one, and a friend, he shot the other one. So we've only got 2 so far today, but we're going to work on that this afternoon.
On a pond near Omakau, Tony Lepper agreed the shooting wasn't great.
Well, Tom, it's been quite disappointing actually. There was a lot of ducks there when we arrived, and we thought we were in for a really good morning, but they've left, and we've only had a few come back. And there's a couple just flying over now, but they won't land. So it's been a bit disappointing. No reason, no idea why. It's quite a good day for duck shooting, but they just haven't come back.
Crosby has a theory as to why they'd bagged so few ducks in the opening morning.
We've had 28 ducks coming into the pond through the week, the last couple of weeks, because we've been feeding them. And what's actually happened, I think the ducks weren't actually from here, and they've come from other ponds during the day. And I'd say they've already been shot at, and they're pretty flighty, so they weren't too keen on landing.
The hunters are still optimistic the season ahead will be a good one.
Around here, I think there's more ducks on this pond, and it just seems to be maybe a good breeding season, but I think there's a lot of ducks around. And for someone like me, duck shooting goes on to quail shooting, so we shoot all winter, so we have a lot of time out there, so we get good value for our duck shooting licence.
The New Zealand hunting organisation Fish and Game praised hunters on the safe start to the shooting season, with no injuries over the opening weekend. Around 40,000 people take part each year, with the shooting season concluding at the end of August. The Central Otago News for the South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, Queenstown's Kawarau Falls Bridge finally becomes a 2-lane roadway, and a funeral service is held for the now closed Southland Art Gallery and Museum. Welcome back. The patient wait by thousands of commuters in Queenstown is over. Motorists were finally able to drive on both lanes of the $22 million Kawarau Falls Bridge from Thursday. The bridge, which connects Frankton to Kelvin Heights, took 2.5 years to build, which was 5 months longer than planned. Mina Amso has more.
Both lanes of the $22 million Kawarau Falls Bridge will finally be open tomorrow afternoon, just in time before the start of the ski season. New Zealand Transport Agency Director of Regional Relationships, Jim Harland, says it's a major achievement.
Well, it is a very significant project because it is going to improve travel time reliability, improve congestion and provide confidence for people coming up from Invercargill or Queenstown through to Te Anau, Milford, which is a major tourist trek.
The bridge was meant to be finished in December last year, but was delayed due to extra water and waste services work being completed.
To support further growth to the south of the district, that has taken a bit of extra time.
Right now, around 8,600 cars drive across the bridge daily, with a wait time of up to 10 minutes. Harland says having both lanes open will help reduce congestion around peak travel times.
Linked in with the other improvements that have been made on the corridor, which is Hawthorne Drive access road behind the airport, which is a local road which we partly funded, improvements to the BP roundabout, the work that's been done with our partners around the $2 flat fare bus system. All of that together means that people who are moving around Queenstown will have a better travel choice options because they've got better public transport, but also for the vehicle drivers and cyclists because they're going to have their own. The old bridge is going to be a dedicated walking and cycling bridge, and there's walking and cycling on the new one.
Harland says NZTA, along with local and regional councils, are working on a few initiatives which are still in the planning stages and aim to reduce congestion in the Wakatipu Basin.
Well, we're looking at the corridor between Frankton and Queenstown in terms of what we can do with that 6A, specifically around public transport and other opportunities to get more efficiency there. We're also working on 4-laning options between Grants Road and this bridge.
Landscaping of the new bridge, plus having the old historic Kawerau Falls single-lane bridge changed into a walking and cycling facility, will be completed by spring. Mina Amsa with the South Today.
A University of Otago expert is part of an international collaboration that has created a new machine learning tool. The new apparatus can detect whether emerging strains of the bacterium Salmonella are more likely to cause life-threatening bloodstream infections rather than just food poisoning.
A new software tool created by a scientist at the Wellcome Sanger Institute in the UK, the Helmholtz Institute for RNA-based Infection Control Research in Germany, and the University of Otago, is set to greatly speed up the process for identifying the genetic changes in new invasive types of Salmonella, which are a greater concern to public health. Paul Gardner of the University of Otago's Department of Biochemistry says the method correctly classifies which Salmonella types are going to be invasive and which are not, by analysing genome sequences.
So we can use our methodology, attach it to these new sequencing devices, and characterise what is actually causing the disease. Because at the moment that's still a very difficult thing to establish. But hopefully in the very near future we'll be able to have a very quick turnaround on what's causing disease.
The group of bacteria known as Salmonella includes many different types that vary in the severity of the disease that they cause. Some types cause food poisoning, they're known as gastrointestinal Salmonella, whereas others cause more severe disease by spreading beyond the gut. For example, Salmonella typhi, which causes typhoid fever.
Some Salmonellas can make us very, very sick, so these are invasives. And they'll cause things like typhoid fever amongst people. But most Salmonellas will live happily in our guts, won't cause too many problems. They might cause food poisoning occasionally, but that's relatively mild. It usually won't kill you.
The study is published in the internationally renowned publication PLOS Genetics Today. The machine learning model identified almost 200 genes involved in determining whether the bacterium will cause food poisoning or will cause more invasive infection. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Southland residents mourned the closure of the Southland Museum and Art Gallery with a symbolic funeral last weekend. A public protest was held in the form of a memorial service, a hearse and all. Sharon Rees reports.
A coffin encasing a pyramid symbolised the death of the Southland Museum and Art Gallery on Sunday. Southland residents gathered at Invercargill's Queen's Park to both protest and mourn the closure of the museum. A funeral procession led by town crier Linley Makero made its way through town before reaching the Invercargill Workingmen's Club for a memorial service. Addressing the crowd, Makero said the service was not about laying a building to rest, but to remember the spirit of the museum.
It is impossible to lay a building to rest, but we must pay tribute today to that which was such a part of so many lives. Therefore, we pay tribute to the very spirit of the Southland Museum, to the very essence that is part of our history and absolutely part of our heritage.
Quantity surveyor Lindsay Buckingham challenged the council's decision to close the museum, saying the report was based on the wrong information.
The reality is the justification used for making those decisions, A, to withdraw staff and then consequentially causing the Trust Board to close the museum, are just plain silly. One of the documents is the Chief Executive's report. If you haven't read it, take the time to read it. There it is there, it's a few pages. But I have to say it's accompanied by a fact sheet and both documents are just full of errors.
Service organiser Bob Simpson said over 100 people attended the service. He said while the service symbolised the death of the museum, the fight for its reopening is very much alive. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
And still to come on Southern Newsweek, motorists endanger the public by deliberately losing control on a gravel road. And wildlife experts hail this year's sea lion breeding season as a success. Welcome back. 25 enthusiastic Queenstown pupils have joined a worldwide sports program to get them off the couch. Sports Analytic has been introduced to 11 countries and is now breaking ground in Queenstown and Wanaka. Mina Amso has the story.
Sprinting to win, these enthusiastic little Queenstowners are being cheered on by mentors at Queenstown's event centre. The 9 kids aged 5 to 11 years old are part of a new worldwide program that has made its way to Queenstown, helping kids discover physical skills and fall in love with sport. 6-year-old Maya Nelson has completed 2 camps already. Her trainer says her strengths are coordination and speed.
Well, I just do fun sports. And I do running and I play games.
Maya's father, Peter Nelson, says Maya was buzzing and bouncing off the walls with her first camp. She dragged her mother out for a run afterwards.
Like 2 weeks after the first time she came, she was, everything she did that was sports related, she was just buzzing and enthusiastic and talking about things that they had told her here, about how you can do it, tell yourself you can.
Program coordinator Chris Byrne says there's too much distraction facing young children today, such as technology, which prevents kids from being active. He says if kids enjoy a sport, they'd stick with it, even into their teen years and adulthood. That's what the camp aims to do.
They've done it very well today. This has been one of my best groups ever. They've picked it up really quick. Some of them are quite challenging, quite hard to understand, especially when you get to the younger age group of 5 years old, but with a bit of patience they get there in the end.
The camp is made up of 9 different exercises to test physical skills such as balance and speed. The team then assesses individual kids' skills and align them with the right sport. Byrne and his small team got the program off the ground in Wanaka earlier in the year and are now reaching 70 kids and counting. He's planning 2 camps in Wellington and Auckland. The sports program now runs in 11 countries worldwide, including Malta, Italy and the US. Mina Amso, The South Today.
An Invercargill resident is fed up with dangerous drivers using the street outside his home as a burnout pad. Richard Pedersen has dealt with boy races near his Nickel Street home for 9 years and last week took his grievances to the City Council. Sharon Rees reports.
During the week, this Invercargill intersection seems fairly quiet, but Nickel Street residents are telling a different story. Richard Peterson lives adjacent to the Elizabeth Park entrance on the corner of Nickel and Lime Streets and says the spot has become a social hub for dangerous drivers.
9 years ago I purchased my home and pretty much not too long after I've been in here I noticed the cars come along here and do skids because the gravel's the attraction and it's been ongoing, to be honest, ever since. Cars just come in here and just gun it, really lose control and then just go straight out of here so fast, and there's a giveaway sign there which they don't even see, and of course cars coming from the left have right away, but yeah, it's quite dangerous actually.
Footage taken by Peterson shows drivers using the gravel road as a run-up before doing dangerous skids, sometimes losing control of their vehicle and mounting the footpath next to his house, or driving at high speeds through the intersection towards oncoming traffic.
It's very frustrating because it's every day, obviously more so on the weekends, and it's not just the young ones, to be fair. Like even when there's like a family come to do BMX, for some reason some of the parents can't help it but to put their foot down to maybe show off or whatever it may be. But you know, yeah, I'm just concerned that some child is going to get hit and be injured or worse, to be honest.
After 9 years of talking to local authorities about the issue, Peterson spoke to city councillors at a submissions hearing on Tuesday and said for the first time he believes his concerns have been heard.
They all looked very interested when I was talking to them and looking them in the eye, and they're looking back at me and in particular one of them was asking some good questions and he looked very interested and concerned by it as well. I'm quite confident something is going to happen. They did ask will I be happy things happen in stages. I said absolutely. I'd love to see something happen first, and I fully understand that, you know. If you could seal the road first and then the footpath and then more lighting, because it's also very dark at night.
Peterson's submission was one of 443 submissions which will be considered by council in a meeting on May 15. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Sea lions are making a comeback to the Otago coastline, with 15 pups having been born on the beaches near Dunedin this year. The South Today went and found out more.
Beaches such as Sandfly Bay on the Otago Peninsula have become a bit of a mecca for intrepid tourists keen to see New Zealand sea lions. Larger and more confident than fur seals, these wild aquatic mammals are becoming a more common sight on Otago beaches, and New Zealand Sea Lion Trust Chairman Steve Broney is very pleased with this year's breeding season.
Yeah, we've got 15 pups this year, which is terrific. Yeah, they're all doing well. We wouldn't have so many pups this year if it wasn't for the support we're getting from communities up and down the coast. So the females are beginning to spread out from their traditional homeland of Victory Beach on the peninsula. They're turning up as far north as Warrington and as far south as Taieri Mouth.
While the public are legally required to stay at least 10 metres away from wildlife such as sea lions, the New Zealand Sea Lion Trust have a permit from DOC to get closer so as to read their tags. However, this is not always a safe activity. Here Steve Broney attempts to read the identity tag of a light grey-coloured female, while a larger dark-coloured male shows threatening behaviour.
When a female is on her own, she's normally very tolerant of us approaching, but if she's got a boyfriend with her, then he gets understandably defensive. But we have a few techniques for getting close by holding our rucksack in front of us. But we only do this when we really have to get the tag number. And we would very strongly discourage any member of the public from trying to get closer than 10 metres to sea lions.
Over the years, there have been occasional male sea lions turning up on our beaches. But 25 years ago was the first time since early colonial times that a female sea lion gave birth on the mainland.
We wouldn't have sea lions on the mainland of New Zealand, again, if it wasn't for that one single female we now know as Mum, who came ashore in 1993 at Taieri Mouth. Most of you will know she's immortalised now in the statue at St Clair. Well, her offspring are now doing well. So she was last seen in 2006, the last time I saw her, so she's long gone. But her children and her grandchildren are carrying on the legacy, and with all our help, the legacy will just grow, and this most endangered species will make a recovery on the mainland, which is long overdue.
While the large black male sea lions are now more commonplace, the less common female sea lions are smaller and slimmer with light grey fur. The Sea Lion Trust is always keen to hear of sightings of females along the Otago coastline.
So any sightings, of creamy coloured sea lions on beaches at any time of the year, we'd really like to know about it. It helps us keep track of them. So just flick us an email at info@sealiontrust.org.nz with the place and the time, and any photographs are terrific, but don't get too close.
With the help of the public, sea lions look likely to reclaim the mainland after an absence of about 200 years. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
The public at Queenstown Bay were treated to a new type of watercraft last weekend. It was a hydrofoil electric bike created by a North Island business who are keen to demonstrate their prototype. The South Today went to the lakeshore for a look.
Making its way through the choppy waters of Lake Wakatipu is no problem for the Manta 5 water e-bike. The almost $8,000 hydrofoil machine, which has pedals assisted by electric motors, is good for about 80 minutes ride time, at roughly 20 kilometres an hour depending on the conditions. With carbon fibre hydrofoils and an aircraft-grade aluminium frame, the water bike is partially powered by a 400-watt e-bike motor. The water bike was invented by Guy Howard Willis, who founded the Waikato-based company after dreaming one night of cycling on water surrounded by dolphins. It may well be available for rent in Queenstown in the future. Mountain Scene for The South Today.
That's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Get online and check us out on Facebook, or keep up with Southern News via our website, channel39.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.